20 years ago, if you said you listened to English prog rock, it just wasn't cool, you know. But now, I don't think anybody really cares now. I mean, it's just music. There's so much music that, especially younger folks are listening to. They don't put a label on. They just listen to it as new music. You know, back in 1990 or something, you know, you've got your, you know, Scratch Acid records and your Sonic Youth and your Dinosaur Jr., but also secretly had, you know, Yes, Fragile and whatever, you know, records like that. But back then, people were actually would be offended if you listened to early 70s, you know, English prog rock, you know. Whereas nowadays, I just don't think people care, except for some old punk rockers who are still holding on to that. But I always secretly loved all that music. Like with any music, punk rock, whatever it is, you know, 90s grunge, there's a lot of horrible stuff, but there's also great stuff. So for me, when I said I like prog rock, I liked probably a small amount of it, and I never liked Jethro Tull very much, but, you know, I loved Emerson, Lake and Palmer, so it was kind of hard to make a distinction, but I never, as a rule, said you can't listen to prog rock, you know. But I guess punk rockers overall said you can't listen to prog rock, you know? And then it turns out that Johnny Rotten loved Can, he loved Hawkwind, he loved all kinds of stuff, you know, that was considered prog rock. But, well, I think you can judge people a little bit on the music they listen to, but there was just this thing, and I'm going back to the early 90s when I first met you guys, that was like, you just can't listen to that kind of music. If you do, you're automatically, you know, a dork, or your opinion doesn't matter, you know. But I was like, why can't you listen to Sonic Youth and, you know, Can or Rush or something like that? But I did have a tape that had Death Valley 69 on it by Sonic Youth, but the next song was Subdivisions by Rush, so I don't know. Well, there's different prog, you know. I think at some point in the late 70s, progressive actually even encompassed like The Cure, you know. So it depends on who you're talking to, you know. We think of prog as the, you know, that classic area of like 1969 to 75 or 76, English bands and whoever. That's what I mean by progressive. But I don't know, now if you use the term progressive, I think a lot of people don't even know what that means, you know. So it's even more prog than progressive.
I mean, I guess we talked about this Electric Würms, that it would really try to be this leftover dream that I know we talked about. It wasn't something that nagged at us, but it's an idea that we could fuse the visceral freakiness of freaky punk rock and the potential visceral expression of prog rock. I mean, there are some things that they're just difficult to play to arrive at emotional things, and without the ability to play and to do these nuances, it's just, to me, it would be difficult to be emotional in that way. So I think in this time and with this group and with this energy and this group of people, I think we've done bits of that. The Flaming Lips have done that. We've tried to do that. We do it as much as we can, but this is trying to go a little bit steeper up because you can go a little bit higher and be a little bit more vulnerable. And
I don't consider Pink Floyd a prog rock band, even though I guess you could call Metal a pretty, you know, or Atom Heart Mother, that's a pretty, you know, proggy record, you know, long songs and a lot of, you know, wanking off kind of stuff. But to me, it's like, you know, Yes, Fragile or Close to the Edge, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and some Jethro Tull.
Mars Volta, I would definitely say that feels like prog rock to me. Okay, yeah. We've seen them play. I mean, there's elements of when they play, it's great, it's dynamic, and they don't give a fuck. And I think that's the part of prog rock that when we see younger, I mean, I'm 53, so you can still be way fucking old and be young to me, you know. But when you see younger bands embracing that idea, I think it's mostly because they don't give a fuck, you know. And that's what we like about Mars Volta a lot, is they will stumble into some areas where he's like, fuck, that's fucking cool. And I think they have a style and something to say in their own world, but I don't know if it's really, it's definitely freaky more than it's prog, but I'm not an expert. The Moody Blues, I mean, I like some Moody Blues songs a lot, but I'd never thought of them as being prog rock, so that's not something I would think of.
The Moody Blues I know, I would say, is like, more post-psychedelia than prog, but I don't know much of that, of their 70s stuff, so I can't really say. No, that's proto-metal. Judas Priest is proto-metal. No, not prog. No. Psychedelic blues-based jam rock.
Grateful Dead, I don't consider the Grateful Dead to even be prog rock. I know that they're on lists of prog rock, but I agree with you that they're like bluegrass. They're based on, it seems like, Jerry's idea of party music, which I think has made the world a better place, for sure. Yeah.
Tool seems more like, I wouldn't call that prog, even though they have the time signature changes and they're all great musicians, or whatever. That just seems more metal to me than prog.
Tool, even though I guess I don't know enough of their music. I know some of it. It doesn't feel like prog rock as much as it feels like math rock.
Yeah, it's math metal.
Yeah, metal-ish without the. Yeah.
I guess it's prog.
I mean, I may have heard it, but I wouldn't know what their trip is. So. Cool name though.
Yeah, Van de Graaff Generator. They've got some cool shit. I would put them in the category. They did some music that was pretty far ahead of their time and was pretty radical for the time. Good prog, yeah.
Aphrodite's Child. I don't know that.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely prog rock. I mean, they had really long songs. The lyrics are always very, esoteric, whatever. And Vangelis, who was the keyboard player, went on and became like, ambient music kind of a wizard after that. So I would say Aphrodite's Child is definitely prog rock. That's not prog to me. It's just not. It's never show-offy. It's never, obviously, Robert Fripp could play some incredible stuff, but when he was working with Eno, he never did that kind of wank-off solo stuff, It was more about sound textures and that kind of thing.
Brian Eno and Robert Fripp, both of them, I don't know all their music that well, but the stuff I know of them, when I think of them as artists and people, they just don't seem like they're interested in this idea of look how good I can play technical things. It all feels like it's coming from the power of their subconscious and their expression and all that. And I don't know why they would even get thrown into that, but maybe some people hear it and think, oh.
Well, if you think about King Crimson, there are definitely elements of King Crimson I would say is full-on prog rock, but then some of it's not, prog at all. So, yeah.
Lightning Bolt. No, Lightning Bolt just doesn't seem prog rock to me. They seem like complete freaks.
That's a good example. It's like guys that can play, and they play crazy shit. It's not just normal music, and it's just wild stuff. It's more, to me, that's more prog meets punk meets just skronk craziness. Punk rock, the origins of it is, the perception was that people that couldn't play their instruments, which I think is not fair. But the idea that anyone can play, that's different than a person that could play anything but chooses to play one thing that seems chaotic. That's a different thing. Deerhoof. I mean, Deerhoof to me, let's talk about Deerhoof. Deerhoof is like prog and punk combined. I would say so. What did Frank Zappa say about the Shags? They bring my mind to a complete halt, which is a big compliment, yeah.
Frank Zappa said that about our music.
Yeah, if anybody said that, I'd be like, cool.
So we had even some difficulty arriving at a list of prog rock groups. It's just not something that we think about. It's even though it's attached to the Electric Würms as a kind of part of our identity or whatever. It's really not. I mean, I think